My brother exploited me financially for years and forced me to pay for his lavish party, but what I did next shattered our whole family. I, 33 male, grew up with a golden child brother, 30 male, who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. And after years of being his personal ATM, I finally snapped. Buckle up, this is going to be a long one. Growing up, Damien was the golden child who couldn't fail if he tried. Let me paint you the picture. When he wanted the new PlayStation, it magically appeared under the Christmas tree. When I wanted a $60 pair of work boots for my first job, I got a lecture on saving up and learning the value of $1. Classic. I was mowing lawns at 12 and coming home with grass stuck to my sweat, while Damien was developing his creative talents playing video games. I was hauling boxes at the grocery store at 16, muscles aching after 8-hour shifts, while Damien was focusing on his social network by partying with the rich kids. The favoritism was so blatant. When I was 17, I'd saved up $800 for a beater car by working double shifts. The day before I was going to buy it, Mom came into my room crying about how Damien, 14 at the time, was struggling with social anxiety and needed to go to this special summer camp that all his friends were attending. She guilted me with the classic, "You've always been the strong one, and your brother needs this opportunity to build confidence." I caved and handed over my car fund. Damien spent the summer posting pool pics, while I kept taking 2 buses to get to my job at the hardware store. He never even said, "Thanks." Another time, I'd qualified for a statewide vocational competition for HVAC students. My parents skipped it to attend Damien's recreational soccer game where he mostly sat on the bench. I won first place. No one was there to see it. When I brought the trophy home, Mom said, "That's nice," and went back to whatever she had to do with Damien. The trophy is still collecting dust in a box somewhere. I was taking night classes for my HVAC certification, falling asleep over technical manuals after working full-time, while Damien bounced between majors at a college I helped pay for because that's what family does. Mom would call me weekly with the same routine: Damien's struggling with his tuition payment. Damien needs books. Damien's fraternity has dues. Each time, she'd hit me with, "He looks up to you so much, and family has to stick together." I fell for it every damn time. It wasn't just the guilt trips, it was the way she weaponized family loyalty like it was a monthly subscription I couldn't cancel. She had a whole playbook. Step 1, start the call with small talk to soften me up. Step 2, mention Damien's rough patch like it was some tragic fluke, not the default setting. Step 3, deliver the ask, always wrapped in something like, "I know you're doing well right now," or "He looks up to you so much, you're his role model." And if I hesitated, out came the classics: "You've always been so strong. You're the stable one," and my personal favorite, "What kind of example are you setting if you don't help?" Somehow, Damien's bad decisions always became my responsibility. And every time I pushed back, I was the cold one turning my back on family. It was less like being part of a family and more like being emotionally blackmailed by one. Now, at 33, I'm not rich, but I make solid money breaking my back as an HVAC tech, and I mean literally breaking my back. I've got 2 herniated discs, carpal tunnel in both wrists, and knees that sound like Rice Krispies when I climb stairs. The job's a beat down, straight up. My life is 60-hour weeks in summer, crawling through attics so hot you can fry an egg on the duct work, standing on rooftops fixing industrial units while the sun burns my neck to leather. It's on-call shifts in winter when some families' heat craps out at 2 a.m. and it's 10 below outside. It's emergency calls on holidays because HVAC systems don't give a damn about your personal time. You know what we say in the trade: if it's too hot, too cold, or smells like hell, they call us. I fixed units in crack houses where I had to carry a knife, in mansions where rich dudes watched me sweat while complaining about the noise, and in restaurants after hours where I'd go home smelling like fryer grease for days. I've worked through a separated shoulder, missed my buddy's wedding because a hospital chiller went down, and spent more Christmases on call than with family. But the pay is decent, and it's honest work, unlike whatever the hell Damien claims to do. Meanwhile, Damien has mastered the art of failing upward. 3 different colleges, all partially funded by yours truly, jobs that never last more than 6 months because his bosses don't recognize his potential, code for he shows up late and leaves early, business ventures that need just a little seed money to become the next big thing. The dude has the work ethic of a stone sloth but the confidence of a fighter pilot. He drives a BMW I co-signed for, lives in an apartment I've covered the security deposit on twice, and somehow convinced our parents that his string of failures is just bad luck rather than the predictable outcome of never facing consequences. The worst part, it wasn't just Damien who acted like my wallet came with a last name. My parents never even asked if I could help, they just assumed I would. It was like there was this unspoken contract: Damien makes messes, I clean them up, not because I offered, but because that's what brothers do. Anytime he failed, missed rent, wrecked a car, dropped out. They looked straight at me like it was my turn to take care of it. Not once did they ask what I was sacrificing or if I could afford it. They just saw me as the guy with a steady job and a working spine and figured I owed the family something for being competent. This morning, I was paying bills at my kitchen table when I checked my bank statements. The brutal truth hit me like a hammer. I'd spent over $75,000 on Damien's emergencies over the years. That money would have funded the HVAC business I wanted to start instead of working for someone else. It could have paid off my mortgage early. Instead, it went to Damien's car payments, rent checks, credit card bailouts, and business expenses for ventures that never materialized, all while acting like he'd earned any of it. Not once, not a single time, had he said thank you without immediately following it with another request. How everything went to the last straw happened so. It was Aunt Tia's birthday party, and there I was, sitting in my work truck outside this fancy venue, still in my uniform after a brutal 12-hour shift. My back was screaming, and I smelled like an ancient air handler. The F-150's AC was blasting but barely cutting through the 95-degree summer heat. I knocked back a warm Gatorade and watched rich people in pressed clothes walk into this place that probably cost more per hour than I make in a day. The heavy metal toolbox that rides shotgun with me was open, revealing the organized wrenches, gauges, and specialized tools I've collected over 15 years in the trade. Each one had a story. So, after sitting in my truck for like 10 minutes, I finally dragged myself into the party, the breaking point that ended my career as my brother's wallet. Let me tell you what went down. There were chandeliers hanging everywhere, an actual ice sculpture melting away money, and some poor magician trying to impress kids who were more interested in their iPads. The whole place screamed, someone's going into debt tonight. Oh, that someone was supposed to be me. Now, for context, I just finished a 12-hour emergency job at a nursing home where the main AC unit crapped out during a heat wave. I'd spent the day in a 120-degree mechanical room, hands sliced up from sheet metal, had no time to shower properly, so I just splashed some water, changed my shirt, and still came to the party because I promised my niece I'd be there. Damien spotted me immediately, looking me up and down with that subtle you expression he's perfected over the years. He was sporting his trademark I'm successful but need your money look, designer suit, fancy watch, that cologne to death smell. Look who finally showed up, he smirked. Couldn't change first? This is kind of a nice place. I ignored the jab and found my niece Tia, the only reason I was even there. She's a good kid, smart as hell, nothing like her father. I gave her the present I'd picked out, a set of books she'd been wanting. She gave me a genuine hug. Damien barely glanced at the gift, mumbling something about books being boring and how I should have just given cash like everyone else. Rich, coming from a guy whose entire financial strategy was ask my brother for cash. The worst part of these family gatherings is always having to interact with Damien's friends, dudes with soft hands and expensive watches who've never known what it's like to actually fix something that's broken. They all had those finance or marketing jobs where they leverage synergies or whatever they spout at networking events, the kind of guys who call a plumber and then stand over him suggesting ways to fix the toilet. Damien paraded me around to his buddies like I was some exotic exhibit. This is my brother. One of his friends asked what I did, and before I could answer, Damien jumped in. He's a repairman. Fixes ACs and stuff. Then he added with a laugh, blue collar all the way. Never wanted to go to college. For the record, I have an associate's degree and 3 professional certifications that took years of study, but sure, I'm just a repairman. It got worse when they started talking about their recent golf trip to Scottsdale. You play, right? One of them asked me. Before I could answer, Damien snorted and said, nah, my brother works too much. No social life. Probably still a virgin. They all laughed like hyenas at a comedy show. This wasn't new. The Damien show had been running my entire life. When we were teenagers, he'd have friends over while I was studying for certification exams, making jokes about me being boring while playing video games I'd bought him. At family gatherings, he'd tell everyone about his latest business venture while my parents beamed, then casually mention I was still just fixing air conditioners like I was waiting for my real life to start. I kept my mouth shut, though, like always, just stood there thinking about the next day's job, a restaurant with a broken freezer that needed fixing before their food stock spoiled. Real work with real consequences, something Damien wouldn't understand if you explained it with puppets and crayons. Then came the moment, the final straw that broke this camel's back forever. Damien was holding court with his friends, talking about some cryptocurrency nonsense he was consulting on. Translation: he watched some YouTube videos, when he suddenly slapped me on the back and announced, anyway, no worries about tonight, boys. My brother's covering the bill for the whole party, right, bro? Just charge it to your card like always. Then he added with a wink, not like you have anything else to spend it on. The room seemed to freeze. His friends chuckled awkwardly. I stood there processing what he just said. This wasn't a small gathering, there were at least 50 people here, open bar, catering, entertainment. We're talking thousands of dollars. And he just volunteered my wallet without even asking me. But it wasn't just about the money. It was that last comment, not like you have anything else to spend it on. Like my only purpose in life was financing his. In that moment, something inside me finally snapped. I looked at Damien and saw a parasite, a leech who had been sucking me dry for years and had the nerve to mock me for it. I wasn't his brother, I was his wallet. And at that moment, I decided this ATM was permanently closed. So, I didn't make a scene, no dramatic speech, no finger pointing, no telling everyone what a jerk Damien really was. I just turned around and walked out while he was mid-sentence about his latest crypto scheme. Got to my truck, pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled his credit card, the emergency only one that somehow paid for club nights and Uber Eats. Then blocked his number. Finally, sent a quick text to my boss that I'd take that overtime job tomorrow after all. Driving home, I started mentally tallying the damage. Last year alone, I'd spotted him $3,200 for emergency rent when he was about to be evicted, $2,700 for car repairs on a BMW that should have been a Toyota, $1,800 for a business retreat, and about $9,000 in smaller loans that disappeared into the black hole of Damien's lifestyle. I thought about the time my buddy tried to get me in on that rental property, guaranteed income, he'd said, building equity instead of paying someone else's mortgage. Had the papers ready to sign. Then Damien called about being 3 months behind on his car payments and facing repossession. Goodbye investment opportunity. Hello bailing out baby brother again. Got home to my place, grabbed a soda, and pulled up my online banking. Started methodically cutting financial ties with Damien. First, the joint account our mom convinced me to open in case he has an emergency, closed it. The automatic transfer that sent $200 to his account monthly for Tia's activities, that somehow always happened when she wasn't around, cancelled. Every recurring payment that he just needed help with temporarily, gone. Pulled out the folder where I keep all the loan agreements Damien signed over the years, total joke, just pieces of paper with numbers on them and his signature at the bottom, agreements he never intended to honor and I never really expected him to. Toss them in the trash. Not worth the paper they were printed on. By midnight, I'd systematically erased every financial connection between us. Felt like cutting out a tumor. And let me tell you, my phone hadn't blown up this much since the time I worked a job with a CO2 leak. My phone kept lighting up with texts and calls from Damien, then from my parents, then from random numbers I didn't recognize, Damien using friends' phones. Didn't read any of them. Turned the thing off and slept better than I had in years. Next morning, woke up at 5:30 out of habit, made coffee, and checked my phone. 37 missed calls, 54 text messages. Most from Damien, going from confused, card not working, bank error, to demanding, call me now, to pissed, WTF is wrong with you, to threatening, you'll regret this, to the classic guilt trip, are you seriously not thinking about Tia? Also had 3 voicemails from my mom, of course. First one was snippy, call your brother, something's wrong with his card. Second one was confused, Damien says you're not answering. What's going on? Then came the pure mom-style manipulation. I don't know what's happening between you two, but your brother needs you. He's very upset. How could you? Deleted all of it and got ready for work. Packed my lunch, filled my thermos, loaded my tools into the truck. Normal Saturday. Sun already beating down, promising another scorcher. Had a commercial freezer to fix and 2 residential units scheduled after. Honest work for honest pay. Mom called while I was driving to the first job. Picked up because she wouldn't give up. Needed to clear things now. What did you do? First words out of her mouth. No hello, just straight to defending her favorite child. Cut him off. I kept it simple. What do you mean cut him off? You know he's struggling right now. He's been struggling forever, Mom. I'm just unfunded. He told me what happened. He was just joking around with his friends. You're being too sensitive. I laughed. He volunteered me to pay for his kid's entire birthday party without asking, called me a virgin in front of his friends, mocked my job. That's not joking, that's being an ass. Stop defending him. Enough is enough. Come on, you've always been able to handle things. Now you're cutting your own flesh and blood over a joke? Exactly. I am not a joke. Now he can be the joke himself. Really? After everything we've done for you, I can't believe you'd punish Tia like this. And there she goes, the guilt tripping. And that actually hit a nerve. I did care about Tia. Her mom can contact me directly about tuition if she needs help, but nothing goes through Damien. And I'm not funding everything. I think it's time for him to man the fuck up and do something for his own family. Maybe sweat a little. I just don't understand why you're being so cruel. I can't believe what I'm hearing. She sniffled. Cruel would be continuing to enable him. I've got work. Bye. Hung up and turned off my phone again. Didn't need the distraction while working on a 3-phase commercial compressor that could take my arm off if I wasn't paying attention. The calls from Damien himself came that afternoon, a different number. I was on a roof in 98-degree heat, replacing a condenser fan motor for a family whose AC had died overnight. Picked up out of curiosity. Are you done being a selfish asshole? His opening line. Classic Damien, you left me with a $1,000 bill last night. Do you know what I had to do to cover it? He sounded genuinely outraged, like I'd somehow wronged him. Don't know. Don't care. I had to leave my Rolex as collateral, the one I got for my birthday. Good. Keep it. You've ruined my life. I had to cancel my Vegas trip with the guys next weekend, all because you're being petty about a little joke. Not a joke, and not my problem anymore. You're just jealous, he spat. Just because your life is all work and no fun. Find a job. Pay your own bills. I cut him off. Also, that Vegas trip you're missing? I'm going instead. First vacation in 3 years. Hung up on his mid-barking and got back to work. The family whose AC I was fixing brought me ice water and thanked me repeatedly for coming out on a Saturday. More gratitude in 5 minutes than I'd gotten from Damien in years. He kept calling from different numbers. I blocked them all. He tried email, deleted without reading. He even sent messages through mutual friends, ignored. By Sunday night, I'd systematically cut off every line of communication. Come Monday morning, I walked into work feeling 10 pounds lighter. Boss asked if I was on drugs because I was actually smiling. Told him, nope, just solved a long-term problem. No idea what kind of storm was brewing on Damien's end, and for the first time in my life, I had 0 fucks to give. The rest of the week played out like a show. Damien tried every angle, showing up at my job site to cause a scene, sending flying monkeys in the form of mutual friends to plead his case, emailing long rants. My favorite was when he claimed I had psychological issues because no normal brother would expect another brother to pay his own bills. The mental gymnastics would have won gold. My parents took their performance on tour, calling my boss, who hung up on them, and even my landlord, who thankfully thought they were scammers. Mom sent a group text to the entire extended family claiming I needed intervention, which was her way of saying, my ATM son isn't dispensing cash anymore, and that's clearly insane. Then came Dad leaving a voicemail that just said, your mother is very upset, as if that was supposed to make me immediately hand over my money and apologize. Dad had perfected the art of emotional outsourcing. He never directly guilted me himself, just informed me that Mom was doing the guilting on his behalf. Real profile and courage, that man. By day 5 of financial independence Armageddon, I'd blocked 17 different phone numbers, muted 3 email accounts, and had to explain to my neighbors that no, the crying woman at my door wasn't being abused. She was just my mother discovering that manipulation doesn't work if you don't let it. I'd never realized how much of my life had been dedicated to managing Damien's disasters until I stopped doing it. Suddenly, I had time to actually fix my own stuff around the house, catch a baseball game with my buddy, and sleep without waking up in a cold sweat wondering if I had enough in my account to cover whatever financial emergency Damien would invent next. The most interesting call came from an unexpected quarter, Caroline, Damien's wife. She sounded genuinely confused when she asked if I'd really stopped paying Tia's tuition. When I explained I just told the school to have her contact me directly instead of going through Damien, there was this beat of silence followed by a bitter laugh. Turned out Damien had told her I was cutting Tia off completely, the first of many lies she was just beginning to uncover. Our conversation was brief but eye-opening for both of us. Caroline had no idea the BMW, the vacations, Tia's private school, even their damn apartment security deposit, all came from my pocket. Damien had told her I had extra investment money and helped out because I didn't have kids of my own. The reality that her husband had been living on his brother's dime while mocking him behind his back hit her like a ton of bricks. Caroline hung up. I didn't have to wait long to see what would happen next. Within 3 days, she'd packed up, taken Tia, and gone to stay with her parents. Damien's house of cards wasn't just collapsing, it was being hit by a Category 5 hurricane. The sudden realization that actions have consequences seemed to be a brand new concept for my brother. His BMW got repossessed within 2 weeks. His fancy apartment with the rooftop pool where he hosted parties, eviction notice by the end of the month. His credit cards were maxed and frozen. His business contacts mysteriously stopped returning calls once they realized he couldn't pick up the tab anymore. Meanwhile, I kept going to work, fixing air conditioners, earning honest money, and enjoying the novel experience of spending it on myself for the first time in years. My bank account actually grew from paycheck to paycheck instead of being drained by the black hole of Damien. I'd expected to feel guilty, that's how it always worked. I'd try to set boundaries, Damien would push back, Mom would deploy the guilt missiles, and I'd cave. But this time was different. This time, the guilt never came. Instead, I felt peace. And let me tell you, it was worth every angry voicemail, every tearful accusation, every manipulative text. I was finally free, and no amount of family drama was going to chain me up again. For those who missed the original post, I finally snapped after my brother volunteered me to pay for his kid's entire birthday party without asking, then called me a loser in front of his friends. After years of funding his lifestyle while breaking my back as an HVAC tech, I cut him off completely. And now, the aftermath is wild. Turns out my conversation with Caroline, Damien's wife, was just the beginning. She didn't just leave, she went full scorched earth. We met at a coffee shop last week where she dropped a folder in front of me. I hired a forensic accountant, she said. You might want to see this. The folder contained a financial crime scene. Damien hadn't just been mooching off me, he'd been running a Ponzi scheme with our extended family. Those business opportunities were him convincing our cousins, uncles, and his in-laws to invest. He'd use new money to pay off old investors and pocket the rest. The account statements he showed everyone were just edited PDFs. Meanwhile, the cash funded his BMW, designer clothes, and strip club networking events. Caroline found all this the night I cut him off. She caught him panicking, editing bank statements on his laptop while trying to figure out how to cover the party bill. Instead of confronting him, she went through all their financial records while he was out trying to pawn his watch. She filed for divorce the next day, took screenshots of everything, reported his scheme to the SEC, and hired the meanest divorce attorney in the state, one who specialized in financial fraud within marriages. Damien showed up to the first hearing in his designer suit, expecting to charm the judge. Caroline showed up with 3 binders of evidence. By the end, the judge had frozen all their assets and ordered a full investigation. Damien's house of cards didn't just collapse, it exploded. Once his investors found out, our cousins filed a civil suit over their missing $20,000. His college buddy reported him to the police over $155,000 in vanished funds. Even his golf buddies came after him for those bogus stock tips. He tried to claim you were his business partner, Caroline told me by the time our coffee was finished. I had the full picture. Damien had lost everything: the apartment, car, watches, designer clothes. His credit score had crashed. His friends vanished. Caroline walked away with full custody, theoretical child support, and a restraining order. Tia's been asking about her uncle, Caroline added before leaving. Maybe you could come by sometime. No financial help needed, just an uncle who actually shows up. Then, just when I thought this whole show ended, Damien decided it wasn't over. It was a Tuesday night after a 12-hour workday. I just stepped out of the shower when someone started hammering on my front door. I opened it to find Damien looking like a homeless version of himself, wrinkled clothes, grown-out haircut, several days of stubble, and eyes with that unhinged look of someone facing consequences for the first time. You ruined my life, he snarled. Go home, Damien. Home? What home? The one I got evicted from. Or my car? Oh wait, they took that too. All because of you. He tried forcing his way inside, but years of cushy living hadn't done much for his strength. Too bad. Oh, and how is that even my fault? I just stopped paying your bills and bailing you out. Everything else? That's all you. So I suggest you figure it out yourself like a real man does. That's when he snapped. Launched himself at me like some discount MMA fighter who learned his moves from YouTube. Caught me with a wild punch. I'd spent 15 years lugging 80-pound AC units. Damien spent that time ordering DoorDash. It wasn't exactly a fair fight. I shoved him back, and he tumbled down my front steps, landing on the sidewalk. I'm going to end you, he screamed loud enough for the whole block to hear. You're dead, do you understand? My neighbor poked her head out and asked if she should call the police. Damien called her an old hag. I nodded to her. I stepped back inside and closed the door while he pounded and kicked, still screaming threats. By the time cops arrived, he was trying to break my windows. They approached him, told him to back off, and when he took a step toward one of them while ranting about how I'd ruined his life, that's how my golden child brother got himself tased on my front lawn. Damien was arrested for criminal threatening, attempted assault, disturbing the peace, and resisting arrest. My neighbor was recording the whole thing. That's a wild move. Thanks, Mrs. Peterson. She approached and showed it to the cops. Then I filed for a restraining order and pressed charges without hesitation. Mom called the next morning sobbing hysterically about how I was destroying the family. Dad got on the phone with his stern voice demanding I drop the charges for your mother's sake. When that didn't work, they went nuclear. If you go through with this, you're out of the will. Like that was supposed to scare me. Go ahead, I said. Not like I ever got anything anyway. Then I hung up and blocked their number. They showed up at my job the next day. Boss took one look at my mother's tear-streaked face and my father's red-faced anger and told them to leave or he'd call the cops. They tried the same routine at my apartment. I didn't answer the door. They left a letter detailing all the ways I was breaking my mother's heart by not supporting family in tough times, straight into the trash. The court date was quick and dirty. Damien showed up in County Orange, looking like he'd aged a decade in 3 weeks. Turns out jail wasn't the luxury resort experience he was used to. My parents sat behind him like he was the victim. Damien got 6 months probation, community service, and mandatory anger management, plus a restraining order requiring him to stay 500 feet from me, my home, and workplace. The judge made it clear that any violation meant jail time. As we left, Dad cornered me in the hallway. Are you happy now? Your brother has a record because of you. Damien has a record because he showed up threatening to kill me, I said. And for the first time, I am happy because I'm finally done with all of you. Then I walked away while Mom stood there in shock and Dad's face turned purple. That was 3 months ago. Haven't spoken to any of them since. Some cousins reached out. Turns out I wasn't the only one who'd noticed the golden child treatment. We grab some drinks sometimes and laugh about how we all thought we were the only ones who saw through Damien's bullshit. I see Tia once a month, take her to the science museum, help with homework, normal uncle stuff. No money involved, just time. That's all she ever wanted anyway. As for me, I finally put a down payment on a commercial property to start my own HVAC business. Hired 2 guys who were getting screwed by their company just like I was. When I check my bank account now, the numbers go up instead of down. Heard Damien's working at a call center, living in some crappy studio apartment, still tells everyone he used to be a big shot before being betrayed by family. Same Damien, less money, fewer believers. Mom and Dad occasionally leave voicemails about family healing and moving forward together. I haven't called back. Now, some of you might ask me if I feel bad about destroying my brother's life. Not even a little bit. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped being the foundation he built his house of cards on. The crash just proved how flimsy it was to begin with.